Lyra ran as fast as her legs could carry her, the cold wind biting at her skin. Her small heart pounded in her chest as the sounds of shouting and gunfire echoed behind her. The Vork hunters were close, their heavy boots striking the metal floor of the transport tunnel with terrifying precision. She could feel the heat of their weapons as they aimed for her, and panic clawed at her mind. She had never been this afraid before. The world she had known, a quiet planet with green fields and soft skies, had been destroyed in the raid. Now, everything was fire, smoke, and screams. Her hand brushed against the strange mark on her arm. It was a small symbol etched into her skin, a sign of her family and her home. The hunters had tried to cut it from her once, but it had burned when they touched it. Lyra did not understand the mark completely, but she knew it made her important to the hunters. She was their target. Lyra's legs ached, but she kept moving, turning sharply around a corner into a narrow side passage. Her breathing was ragged, her chest rising and falling rapidly. She had to find safety. She could not go back. She could not face the hunters again. She had almost given up hope when she heard a shout from the other side of the passage. "Stop right there." The voice was deep, human, and strange. Lyra froze in place, unsure whether this voice belonged to a friend or another enemy. She pressed herself against the cold wall, hiding behind a large crate. Her ears twitched as footsteps approached, slow and steady. She peeked around the edge and saw him, a human in dark armor, a rifle in his hands. He moved differently than the hunters. He moved with purpose, but not with cruelty. The hunters rounded the corner at the same time. There were 4 of them, large and menacing. They roared, their voices harsh and alien, and raised their weapons toward Lyra. Her stomach twisted with fear. She could not escape this time. Before she could think, the human stepped forward. He raised his weapon, not aiming to kill, but to block the hunters. One of them lunged at him, swinging a blade. He dodged easily and pushed the hunter back with a strong shoulder. Lyra's eyes widened. Humans were so different from anyone she had seen before. They were smaller than the hunters, weaker in size, but they moved with strength, intelligence, and courage. "Come on," he shouted, looking directly at her. His voice was firm but not cruel. Lyra understood that he wanted her to run. She hesitated for only a moment, then sprinted after him as he led the way through the twisting corridors of the transport tunnel. They ran together, and Lyra noticed the human's calmness. His eyes scanned every corner, his ears listening for danger. He was careful, but he was not afraid. That surprised her. How could someone be so brave when there were so many hunters chasing them? They reached a section of the tunnel that had been damaged in the raid. Sparks flew from broken wires, and smoke rose in thick clouds. The human paused and glanced at her, pointing toward a smaller side passage. Without waiting for her answer, he ran forward, drawing the hunter's attention. Lyra froze for a second, fear gripping her chest. He was risking his life for her. He was giving her a chance to escape. She wanted to call out, to warn him to run with her, but her voice would not come. She could only watch as he fought the hunters off. Blasts of energy hit the walls around them, throwing sparks into the air. Lyra ducked low, pressing herself to the floor as the human swung and dodged with unbelievable skill. Each move he made seemed impossible, yet he was human, just like the one she had seen in pictures from long ago. One of the hunters shouted angrily and lunged at him from behind. The human spun just in time, knocking the hunter away with a sharp kick. Lyra realized that if he did not act, she would never escape. Her chest tightened as she watched him take another blow to the shoulder, but he did not fall. "Go," he shouted, his voice carrying over the din. Lyra ran without hesitation, following the path he had shown her. The tunnel shook as explosions went off nearby, and she stumbled over debris, scraping her knees. Pain flashed through her body, but she ignored it. She had to survive. She had to make it. Behind her, the sounds of fighting continued. She could hear the human's voice shouting commands, hearing the grunt of the hunters as they struggled against him. Lyra's mind was a whirlwind of fear and confusion. She had never met a human before. She did not know their ways, their strengths, or their weaknesses. Yet this human risked everything for her, The passage she ran through ended in a small chamber. A damaged transport drone sat half-collapsed, its doors hanging open. She knew instinctively that this was her only chance. She ran toward it and pushed with all her strength, the doors moving just enough for her to slip inside. The drone hummed to life, and she grabbed a small control panel. Sparks flew, but she managed to open the hatch just enough to see the human one last time. He was still fighting, still holding the hunters back. His armor was scratched, his helmet dented, and yet he stood firm. Lyra's eyes filled with tears. She wanted to go back to him, to help, but the drone shook violently, and she had to let go. The hatch closed. The drone lifted off the ground, carrying her away from the chaos. She pressed her forehead against the cold metal, her body shaking. Her mind replayed everything she had seen. The human had risked his life for her, for no reason she could understand. He did not know her, yet he fought as if her life mattered more than his own. The drone moved through the smoky tunnels and finally emerged into the open sky of the station. Lyra looked down at the ruins below, at the fire and destruction. She realized that she had survived, but at a terrible cost. The human had stayed behind. She could only hope that he would find safety, but the chance seemed slim for hours. She sat in the drone, hugging the small metal tag she had found near the fight. It had a name scratched into it, Adam Cole. She did not know who he was or what he wanted, but she knew she owed him her life. Her mind kept turning over the images of his calm eyes, his steady hands, and his brave stance. She had never seen anyone like him before. Lyra wondered why humans were willing to risk everything for strangers. On her planet, people rarely help anyone outside their families. Fear controlled most lives, but this human had done the opposite. He had acted first, thought later. He had given her life. When the drone finally landed on the station, Lyra stepped out into the bright lights and clean corridors. People moved past her, unaware of the terror she had escaped. She felt small and alone. Yet, in her heart, a spark of hope remained. She walked through the station, clutching the tag close to her chest. She did not speak, for she did not know the words. She did not know the language humans used, and she did not know if anyone here would understand her. But she remembered him. She remembered Adam Cole. That night, alone in a small room provided for her by the station officials, Lyra pressed the tag against her lips. She whispered his name softly, almost as if speaking it could bring him to her. She remembered the way he had moved, the way he had fought, the way he had saved her without a second thought. Tears ran down her cheeks. She did not cry for herself or for the destruction she had witnessed. She cried because someone had shown her what it meant to be brave, to be selfless, to be human. In the quiet of the room, she made a silent promise. She would survive. She would learn. She would find a way to honor the courage of the human who had risked everything for her. Even if she never saw him again, even if she never knew his fate, she would carry his memory. The night passed slowly. Lyra held the metal tag all through the hours, dreaming of a human who had appeared out of nowhere. A human who had changed her life forever. And deep inside, she felt something she had never felt before. Hope that the following morning, she stepped into the busy corridors of the station. Humans walked past, and for the first time, she did not feel fear. She felt curiosity, admiration, and a strange connection she could not explain. Somewhere, out there, the human who had saved her existed. And somewhere, out there, maybe he would see her again. But for now, she would remember. She would remember Adam Cole, the human who had risked his life. The human who had shown her the meaning of courage. And though she did not know if she would ever meet him again, she knew one thing with certainty: she would never forget the human who had saved her. Lyra spent the first weeks on the station trying to understand everything around her. The humans moved quickly and spoke in a language she did not fully understand. She watched them carefully, noting their gestures, their expressions, and the way they worked together. She had learned to trust humans through one experience, and now she wanted to know more. She did not know why she felt this connection to them, but she knew it was important. She kept the metal tag close to her chest at all times. Sometimes she would close her eyes and imagine the human, Adam Cole, standing before her. She would see him fighting the hunters, hear his voice shouting to her, and feel the strength of his presence. It was comforting, and it gave her courage. The station was busy with activity. Humans and aliens moved through the corridors, carrying supplies, repairing equipment, and preparing for missions. Lyra followed them quietly, learning how to navigate the station. She noticed how humans communicated without words, using hand signals and eye contact. She realized that their strength was not only in their bodies, but also in their minds and their ability to work together. One day, she overheard a group of humans talking about a training session for new recruits. Curiosity stirred inside her. She wanted to see how humans train, how they learn to fight and survive. She had seen one human fight once, and it had left a deep impression on her. She wanted to understand their courage. She approached the training area cautiously. Humans move with precision, lifting weights, running, and practicing combat moves. She watched silently, fascinated. Each movement was purposeful, controlled, and yet powerful. She could see why humans could face danger with such confidence. She wished she could meet Adam Cole again, to see if he trained like these humans. She wondered if he would recognize her if he saw her now. Lyra found a quiet corner and practiced simple movements she had seen. She mimicked the human steps, their swings, their stance. Her body was not as strong, but she learned quickly. She remembered the human who saved her, and his courage became her guide. She imagined his voice telling her to move faster, to stay alert, to never give up. Days passed, and Lyra began to feel stronger. She still spoke little, mostly to herself, repeating words she heard from the humans. She learned to communicate basic ideas, asking for directions, expressing hunger or tiredness, and even giving small greetings. The humans were patient with her. Some smiled kindly, some laughed at her mistakes, but all treated her with respect. She had not expected this. On her world, people had often ignored or feared those who were different. Here, she felt accepted, even if she was still very different. Every night, she held the metal tag close and thought about Adam Cole. She wondered if he had survived, if he was alive somewhere on another station, or if he had returned to his planet. She imagined what it would be like to meet him again. She imagined him smiling at her, saying something that would make her feel safe and brave all at once. But reality always returned. She was alone. The station was full of people, but none were Adam. None had saved her like he had. One evening, a small incident shook the station. A group of young aliens accidentally triggered a security alarm. The sound was loud and piercing, and humans ran to see what had happened. Lyra froze. She had never heard an alarm like this before. Her heart raced, and she felt the old fear return. She remembered the hunters, the tunnel, and the human who had saved her. She wanted to hide, but something stopped her. She looked around and saw humans organizing quickly, some taking positions, others checking the perimeter. They moved with order and confidence. Lyra realized that this was what she had to learn, to act, to think, and to face danger without fear. She stepped forward, following a human who seemed calm. He guided her to safety, and she began to understand that courage was not about being fearless, but about moving forward even when afraid. The next days were full of small lessons. Lyra helped with minor tasks, learning how to repair simple machinery, how to read basic signs, and how to move through crowded corridors without causing trouble. She watched humans carefully, copying their actions, practicing until she got them right. Every day, she grew a little stronger, a little braver. She learned that humans could be ordinary in appearance, but extraordinary in their will to survive and to help others sometimes. She saw groups of humans preparing for missions outside the station. She watched their careful planning, the way they checked their equipment, and the way they communicated silently. She thought of Adam Cole again. She wondered if he prepared like this, if he trained others, if he taught them how to be brave. She imagined him moving with the same calm determination she had seen when he saved her. The thought filled her with hope. Lyra began to understand that humans were not just strong or fast. They were clever, resourceful, and persistent. They could face danger and find a way to survive. They could protect those who could not protect themselves. She thought about how Adam had risked his life for her. She realized that humans had something that aliens often did not, a deep sense of loyalty and selflessness. They could act for others, even when it was dangerous or difficult. Her mind often returned to the day of her rescue. She remembered the sounds, the fear, the chaos. She remembered Adam's eyes, his steady hands, and the way he had blocked the hunters. She remembered the moment he had told her to go, to run. That memory became a guide for her, teaching her how to be brave, how to face challenges, and how to move forward despite fear. One evening, she met a human girl named Sophie, who noticed Lyra practicing movements she had learned from the training area. Sophie smiled warmly and offered to help. Lyra hesitated at first, unsure if she could trust another human so soon. But something in Sophie's eyes reminded her of Adam, kindness, patience, and strength. She nodded, and Sophie guided her through exercises, showing her how to move efficiently and avoid injury. Lyra felt a new kind of hope, realizing that humans could teach her and help her grow stronger. Over the weeks, Lyra continued to improve. She ran faster, moved with more confidence, and learned to communicate more clearly. She no longer felt completely alone, though the thought of Adam never left her. Every step she took, every lesson she learned, was a tribute to the human who had risked everything for her. She carried his courage inside her, using it to face the challenges of life on the station. One day, a communication alert rang through the station. Aliens and humans alike paused to see the message. It was a request for aid from a nearby planet under attack by a group similar to the Hunters, who had destroyed Lyra's home. Lyra felt her heart race. She wanted to go, to help, but fear held her back. She remembered the tunnels, the Hunters, and the chaos. She remembered Adam, and a spark of courage ignited within her. She realized that she had learned something important from him. Courage was not about fighting alone. It was about protecting others, standing up even when afraid, and never giving up. Lyra made a decision. She would go. She would do whatever she could to help those in danger. She would honor Adam's sacrifice by being brave, just as he had been for her. That night, Lyra held the metal tag tightly. She whispered Adam's name, not as a prayer, but as a promise. She promised that she would survive, that she would grow strong, and that she would face the future with courage. She did not know if she would ever see him again, but his memory was enough to guide her. She knew that humans were extraordinary, and that their courage could inspire others. Even an alien girl who had lost everything. The days ahead would be full of challenges. Lyra would face danger, uncertainty, and fear. But she also knew that she had learned the most important lesson, that courage, loyalty, and selflessness could change lives. She had experienced it firsthand, and she would carry it with her forever. As she looked out at the stars from the station's observation deck, she imagined Adam watching over her, as if he were still there. She took a deep breath, feeling the weight of fear lift slightly. She was no longer completely alone. She was no longer helpless. She had the strength of humans inside her, and she would use it to survive, to learn, and to face whatever came next. And somewhere, she hoped, Adam Cole would be out there too, alive, and proud of the alien girl who had survived because of him. Months passed, and Lyra had grown stronger and more confident. She moved through the station with purpose, no longer just observing humans, but interacting with them. She helped repair machinery, guided newcomers through the corridors, and learned to communicate more clearly. Yet, in her heart, she carried the memory of Adam Cole. His courage had become her guide, and every action she took reminded her of him. One day, while she was walking through the station's central hub, alarms blared across the corridors, red lights flashed, and a deep voice echoed over the speakers. The Vork hunters had returned. They had somehow found a way to track her, and they wanted the mark on her arm. Fear shot through Lyra's chest, but she forced herself to breathe slowly. She remembered the lesson she had learned from the humans: stay calm, think carefully, and act decisively. People were running in all directions, humans and aliens alike. Some carried weapons, Others helped the wounded. Lyra knew she could not hide. She could not run like before. She had to face the danger, and maybe even fight it, just as Adam had taught her by example. She moved toward the training area, where she knew humans were gathering to organize a defense. As she ran, she saw the hunters storming through the corridors, their sharp claws and weapons gleaming. Her stomach twisted with fear, but she refused to let it control her. She remembered Adam standing firm against overwhelming odds. She could do the same. When she reached the training area, a human officer named Matt was organizing people. He looked at Lyra with surprise, but did not hesitate. "Follow me. Stay close and do exactly what I say," he shouted. Lyra nodded, understanding even though she did not know all the words. She followed Matt, moving through narrow side passages, guiding other aliens and humans to safer areas. Her heart raced, but each step she took gave her more confidence. She realized that courage was not just about fighting, it was about helping, guiding, and protecting those who could not protect themselves. Suddenly, one of the hunters appeared from a side corridor. Blocking their path, Lyra froze for a moment, fear gripping her body. The hunter was huge, its eyes glowing with rage. It raised its weapon, ready to strike. Lyra's mind raced. She remembered Adam's quick thinking, his ability to see a solution when danger seemed impossible. She had to do something. Without thinking, she grabbed a loose metal rod from the floor and swung it at the hunter. The hunter hissed and recoiled, surprised by her sudden attack. Lyra took advantage of its moment of confusion and darted past it, leading the others to safety. Her heart pounded, but she kept moving. She could feel fear, but she refused to let it stop her. The group finally reached a secure room where humans and aliens could regroup. Lyra collapsed against the wall, catching her breath. Sweat dripped down her face, and her arms ached from the fight. Yet she felt alive, more aware than ever of her own strength and determination. She realized that she could survive, that she could act, and that she could help others. The humans quickly organized themselves, setting up defenses and preparing for the hunter's next move. Lyra watched carefully, learning their strategies and thinking about how she could contribute. She was no longer a passive observer. She was part of the effort, part of the human-led defense. She thought about Adam again, imagining him standing here with her, calm, confident, and ready to fight. She hoped she would make him proud. As the hours passed, the hunters became more aggressive. They tore through the outer corridors, looking for Lyra and any other aliens who might have the mark. Lyra stayed close to the humans, helping guide them, pointing out weak spots in the station's defenses, and even blocking small attackers when necessary. She had learned from the humans that even small actions could make a difference, and she acted with determination. During a brief pause in the fighting, Lyra found herself near the observation deck. She looked out at the stars and thought of Adam. She whispered his name, imagining him watching over her, giving her strength. She realized that hope and memory could be as powerful as any weapon. His courage had taught her that she could face fear without being consumed by it. The humans and Lyra worked together, using strategy and intelligence to outmaneuver the hunters. Lyra remembered every detail of her rescue from the past, every lesson Adam had unknowingly taught her through his actions. She moved quickly, helping humans set traps and secure dangerous areas. The hunters were strong, but humans and aliens united were stronger, more clever, and more determined. Finally, the hunters made a last push toward the central reactor. They wanted the mark on Lyra's arm, believing it to be the key to a powerful weapon. Lyra felt fear rising, but she also felt a strange calm. She knew she had to face them. She had to protect herself and the humans who had helped her. She was no longer alone, and she was no longer helpless. With the humans at her side, she confronted the hunters. They lunged forward, claws flashing, but Lyra stood firm. She dodged, blocked, and struck with precision, using the movements she had practiced countless times. Humans followed her lead, inspired by her courage. Together, they forced the hunters back. Step by step, Lyra remembered Adam's face, his calm eyes, his determination. She realized that courage could be contagious. Her bravery inspired others to act, and together they were stronger than the hunters had expected. Each moment she faced the enemy, she felt more confident, more capable, and more alive. After hours of fighting, the hunters were finally repelled. They retreated, realizing that Lyra and the humans would not be defeated easily. The station was battered and many were injured, but the survivors were safe. Lyra looked around, exhausted but triumphant. She had faced the hunters, guided by the memory of a human who had risked everything for her. As the dust settled, Lyra found a quiet corner and held the metal tag close to her heart. She whispered Adam's name again, feeling gratitude, hope, and determination. She realized that the human who had saved her had changed her life in ways she could never forget. She had learned courage, strength, and selflessness from him, and now she was ready to face whatever challenges lay ahead. The events of that day had shown Lyra something important. Humans were extraordinary not just because of their strength, but because of their courage, their loyalty, and their willingness to act for others. She had seen it firsthand, and she would carry it with her forever. Adam Cole's memory was no longer just a memory. It was a guiding force, a source of strength, and a reminder that even in the darkest moments, hope and courage could shine through. Lyra knew that more challenges would come. The universe was dangerous, and threats could appear at any time. But she also knew that she was not the same alien girl who had been trapped in the tunnel. She was stronger, braver, and wiser. She had learned from humans, and she had learned from the human who had saved her. Adam Cole had given her life once, and now his lessons would help her survive and protect others in the future. As night fell over the station, Lyra stood at the observation deck again. Looking at the stars, she felt a deep connection to Adam, to the humans, and to the courage that had been passed to her. She was ready for the next challenge, ready to face danger, and ready to act with the same selflessness that had saved her life. The memory of her human savior would guide her, always, as she moved forward into the unknown.